La mostra retrospettiva, the retrospective exhibition, is always very important for an artist. So retrospect, to look back, is important for an artist. And the curriculum vitae is, in fact, looking backwards. So let me tell you something, some proposals about ways how to look backwards, to retrospect. There are three fundamental elements, maybe three, maybe more, that define a CV. The first is that everything that is written on a CV has a specific author. The second is that everything has happened at a specific time. And the third is that everything, with some exception, has to be considered finished, completed, done. Now, I propose to question these three principles and to explore, maybe, different possibilities at these regards. So, one, the author. Of course, more and more of the artistic projects today is the result of a collective effort where different people, different abilities, different competencies are in place. It's normal that the artist, being the conceiver, the regista, the director of the project, advocates authoriality over it. But we can imagine a CV where all the contributions of other people are listed. So a CV where the things that are written are not what the artist has done, but what he or she has not done. Maybe even more important is the possibility of considering that the artist frees, make free, not freeze in the sense of congeal, the artworks that are listed in the CV from his or her authoriality, in order to see if this way the artwork can give rise to more meanings, different connections, questions, or critical options. In other words, could an artwork of mine get new meaning if I manage to think of it as the artwork of someone else? Dispossess an artwork from its author could make it free from chains of given connections that predetermine its interpretation. And this way offer new, let me tell this in Italian, linee di fuga, lines of escape, lines through which the artwork escapes its author. Two, the time. Normally, the passage of time is expressed with a geometric figure of a line that goes from left to right. This is the technological part of my talk, like this, from the past to the present. In this vision, each point, each moment is equal to any other, and it always has a specific moment that has something preceding and something following. 1990, 1991, 1992, etc. But I'm convinced that in an artist's life, each new artwork contributes to give value, to validate also the preceding ones. And at a certain piece that apparently has been made for a certain show at a certain time, in fact can get its meaning maybe years later. So maybe I've done something in '96, but really I have exchanged meanings with other people about it in 2000. So between 2000 and 96, regarding that piece, there is a connection. And if we consider these connections, our CV, our timeline, can become something like this, where different times are connected. And we get to arrive to a sort of a spirale form timeline Again, the issue is creating connections to de-define, to de-isolate the artwork. And this is a sort of a new form of contemporaneity in the sense that one way or the other, all the works of an artist are there at the same time, all together. Third point, the artwork is not complete, it is not done. It is always possible to think that the artwork is something that still can create circulation of ideas, of possibilities of interpretation, of contextualization. Market ideology, museum methods tend to congeal, I hope this is an English term, to freeze the artwork. It's clearly defined, it's there, it's done, so it can be sold or it can be put in a museum. Now, maybe this is something that for one reason or another, the artists do want, some getting frozen that we as artists actually desire. But maybe we can sometimes consider this as a trap and try to de-freeze our art. A retrospective for an artist is very important, I was saying. And I always thought to the possibility of making of the retrospective exhibition something like a new project. And recently, I've done my first retrospective in a small gallery in Rome. It's actually an artist-run space called Zone. And in order to exhibit things that were never exhibited before, I chose among all my production the artworks that I had discarded, that I had been ashamed of, because at the last minute, just before the show started, I decided that they were wrong, or they were too similar to some other artist's work, or incoherent with the rest of the show, or maybe, in one case, even too beautiful. So it's just a small selection of images, a sound installation. At the last minute, the curator says, "Are you crazy? This is exactly what Pistoletto had done 10 years ago, so you cannot do it." So you shamefully hide your piece. Or something that's incoherent with the show. No. A research on some kind of political, anthropological research about the color of the skin, and then it comes out that it looks really like a Damien Hirst. And so, out of the way, hidden, never shown to anyone until a very wrong drawing about perspective. And this is the last example. A museum wanted to purchase a performance of mine. Now, the performance had been done already, so the museum curator insisted to have that piece in their collection. And I said, okay, I'll try to make some, enlargements, some big photos of that performance. And then when I saw the photos, they were too beautiful as photographs. And so I said, but if I put these things in a museum, then my work will be interpreted in that way. So I will become, an artist that makes beautiful photography. And so because they were beautiful, I've hidden them and never exhibited to anyone. But them all together become, I think, my best show. The show of artworks to be ashamed of, but it is also, if you think, the revenge of the neglected artworks. Thank you very much.
Hello, Cesare.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I was interested, there's a parallel, in pedagogy, that this idea that it's not learning to just have information and tell the student learn learn this, memorize this. And the CV, right, is the way that people learn about the artist. And I like your proposition in which you're saying, are you in fact proposing that the CV should be less informational and become an open score so that it must be interpreted and performed?
Well, I think that most of the artist practice doesn't actually consider the fact that any step in our work can become part of our practice as artists. So, for example, the relation with the gallerist. The relation with the gallerist or selling a piece, it's considered sort of out of the piece. Normally, I mean, of course, there are many, many great artists who have considered that. And I think we can do the same also with the curriculum. No, the same thing with the title. You can think the title is outside the piece, but the title and the piece make something together. So your CV and your art can do something together. So CV itself can be a project. It's creating, I was telling Miran yesterday, planes of immanence. Okay? Sounds good, no?
Sounds great. Thank you very much.
Sure.